Hey everyone, today my guest is Josh Chernikoff, his second appearance on the podcast, founder at EdSales Elevation Experience. I'll let you give a brief introduction to remind listeners what you do, what's your company about, what your passions are. Please go ahead.
Thanks. Appreciate you having me back on the show. I wonder, maybe when was the last time I was on the show? Because man, things go fast.
It was definitely more than a year ago, maybe 14 months.
A lot of shit has changed in a good way. Business-wise, 14 months ago, I was certainly figuring out what I was doing in terms of helping companies in education with lead generation, customer acquisition. We were kind of just getting going. I had months before started my cohort called the EdSales Elevation Experience and started doing some coaching of teams. I can confidently say that we're getting results for the companies that we're working with. And I was thinking yesterday, I wonder how many coaches and consultants there are out there, because there are so many that are actually getting results, and that the people are actually kind of, not only are they grateful for the results they're getting, they're also beginning to help others. And so we've got this group of about 130 companies. Basically, when I met you, I probably worked with a company or two, and we've worked with 130 companies in education since then, and they've all been successful. And what I measure success is by these companies getting into a place where they're generating leads for their education company on repeat, and they're all getting there. And so I'm really excited about that. I'm grateful to be back on the show, and I've learned a lot since then. So hopefully I can provide some value to your listeners, even if they're not in the education space.
And has your system evolved, the one that you teach your clients over the 14 months since the last show?
You know what? Absolutely. We work on the course, the 12-week course, once a month. And we do what we can to improve it because we're always learning from it. That being said, inside my team, I make it a point that we are also always learning as people. There's always something we can do to level up our own game. Specifically right now, he doesn't quite know it, but Alex Hormozy and Rich Litvin are coaching me. I'm working really hard to listen to everything they say. I take transcripts from their shows. I take their emails. I spend time with them, and I try and figure out how can I apply what they're saying to what I'm doing. Another guy is Aaron Fletcher. Love Aaron Fletcher. Learning so much from him as well. I had a coach that I worked with for many years. Her name was Tony. Awesome coach. We're not exactly working together as much anymore because I was looking for something a little bit different, but that's okay. Shoot, if anybody wants to work with Tony, she's fantastic. I'm happy to connect. But I'm looking for something a little bit different in a coach right now. I just recommend to everybody that you should always be looking to change and level up, and coaches are a great way to do that, especially as entrepreneurs, when we're not exactly always surrounded by a team of people. And sometimes it's tough to have friends, because you're at the top. As much as you want to be surrounded by people and really feel like this is a team, you're still the leader. And so it's always good to be tested, pushed, and pulled by other people. And so my coach Tony was fantastic for many years. And now I'm really working with, again, thank you, Rich and Alex and Aaron, these guys who I'm actively learning from day in and day out. I'm really sticking to learning from their podcasts and their emails and what they've written.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned being a leader. By the way, how big is your company now? How many employees you have?
I have no employees. I am employee-less for as long as I can be. I had no employees in my first business, which was my tutoring business. I had too many in my second, so I'm holding off in the third. I have 6 members of my team that I rely on very heavily, and we're connected day in and day out. I have lots of coaches and consultants that I rely on, but no employees right now. And I'm happy to keep it that way for as long as I can.
So, what are your core leadership principles to make sure that the team is aligned and gets results? Do you have a specific philosophy that you follow?
It's a great question, and I would love to let my future COO answer that for you. Honestly, being a leader, being a coach is something I'm good at from a motivation and appreciation standpoint. From an organizational standpoint, it's not my strong suit. I'm very good at taking businesses from zero to, we're organized. I've done it 2 other times. I talk about this idea of swarm soccer. My dad, when we were growing up, when we would play soccer, he would explain that, you know, when you're young, you play swarm soccer. You just follow the ball. Everybody just follows that ball. But as you get older and you begin to understand the game, you start to get in position and you start to play the roles that you're supposed to play. I'm really good at leading a swarm soccer team. In my other 2 businesses, I've had 2 people. One in my tutoring business, Mandy Ekman, who was amazing in my tutoring business. She led that until she went to work for this little company called Uber. Then Michael Fay came in and ran my after-school enrichment business, Flex Academies. Michael and I are still in business together. We're best buddies. He now runs my former company and owns 46 Subway franchises. I'm really good at the lead gen. Then we get to a tipping point where the operations need to be really worked on. And I believe and have seen that I always go out and hire somebody who does my operations, who also gets the team in the roles and gets them the responsibilities they need to focus on. I'm always on the sideline. I'm cheering. Do what you're supposed to do what you're supposed to do. But eventually that person, my COO, says, keep cheering, but don't get involved. Go do your thing. And then I get to go do the lead gen portion of the business, which I love. Coaching of the clients, which I love. So hopefully that answers your question. It's not my best skill.
Got it. Got it. Well, this makes total sense. I'm curious to learn from you. Let's say you hired a COO who runs the operations, making sure that the organization is thriving. How much value would you see in your personal self-improvement in that area compared to an alternative, as you said, doubling down on what you're good at and what you love? In your case, it's lead gen. Do you think you should still try to lean into the skills that you're not the best at, or it's best to double down on what you're already good at?
Another great question, Danny. You're a very good listener, and not everybody who runs a podcast is a very good listener. So I appreciate that. I'm 46 years old, I think. Maybe 45, maybe 47. I always ask my wife, but I think I'm 46. At this point, I know what I'm good at. I also know what I'm probably not going to be very good at, even if I continue to work on it. I like to listen to Dan Martell, another person I get a lot of information from out there. Great coach. I think Dan Martell would tell you, and he and I have exchanged some texts, that I should probably learn how to do this myself. Interesting thing is, I work with founders in the education space, and I tell them, you need to lead the sales first. We need to build this together. And then you can go out and hire a salesperson. Because the founder-led sales, there's so many stories involved in it. There's so many experiences involved in it. Why did you start it? Why do you want to do this? Why are you focused in this area, this part of the country? But when it comes to the operations part, my founder story doesn't matter. Where I am in the country doesn't matter. All that matters is we get things organized so the business can run more efficiently, so we can do better for ourselves and for the people that we serve. So as much as I used to believe that I should learn how to be a better operator, there are so many great people out there who are so good at this that at this point, I believe it's better to bring them on and for me to get the hell out of their way, which has worked very well for me twice.
Yeah, makes total sense. Thank you for sharing your perspective. Besides lead gen, what other areas of running the company you focus on right now?
Like most of the entrepreneurs that you probably have on your show, I dream. I literally wake up. Like this morning, I woke up thinking about topics for shows. I really woke up thinking about the challenges that my ideal clients are going through. I talk to a lot of my ideal clients, my perfect clients, about leveraging LinkedIn, something you're very good at, leveraging social media, not for self-promotion, but for credibility building, for awareness, to support others. And a lot of my clients have no interest in social media. And I always tell them, I don't have interest in you using social media to show where you went for a walk or the beautiful sunset. But for building your business and building your credibility, let's do it. And I show them that. So there's a show coming about that. I was thinking about a show. I was asleep and I was thinking about this, about when is the right time to start lead gen, because that's a question I get a lot. So it should be a show. It's a challenge. It's a question. So I'm always doing the lead gen, but I don't do it from a salesy standpoint. I try and do it from like a value standpoint. Those two shows that I just mentioned to you, when we do those, they will bring value to my perfect client. And one of the things that I've thought a lot about lately, because Rich Litvin said it, great coach, that a lot of people come to him, and when they do finally start to work with him as their coach in a paid way, they say, Rich, actually, you've been coaching me for a long time. You just didn't know it. And I'm hoping that there are people out there, because I see people download our shows. I know people read our emails. People comment on what I write on LinkedIn. So I'm hoping that I'm giving value to people. So while I'm always doing the lead gen, my main focus is to deliver as much value and serve our perfect clients as much as I can. And I know the rest will come back to me. So that's my main focus.
And when you say show, are you talking about your podcast?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, our podcast, Breaking the Grade. Interesting, for those out there who have a podcast. I started that podcast really as an interview show. And it was a great way to learn how challenging podcasts can be, as you know. It's not just putting a mic in front of two people. There's so much more. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, right? And so I learned how hard a podcast was to manage. Luckily, I had Tony, my coach, by my side, who was helping me really craft up the shows, deliver the right message, deliver value. And now, actually, we've brought that show in-house. I've got a member of my team, Alvin, who's doing a fantastic job at managing it, writing the new shows, putting out the social media. And I got to tell you, man, I was a little bit scared about bringing it in-house. But, Tony did such a nice job of building the foundation for the show so that we could take it over. And we have. So, yeah, my show, our master classes, getting opportunities to speak at conferences, our LinkedIn outreach, those to me are all what I have to do. That's my lead generation. I can deliver value through all of those channels, and then it will all come back to me like a wave, and it is. So yeah, that's our show, Breaking the Grade.
Yeah, I'll leave the link to your show as well as other links, LinkedIn, company in the description. So
Thanks.
if you're listening to this episode, definitely go check Josh's company and his podcast as well.
Thank you.
One of the things that I clearly remember about your ed sales approach, what you're teaching, was the system. There was a step by step, I think it was 12 step guide, or things that you have to do to go from point A, which was having an idea or something like that, a starting point, to actually having a business. I want to learn how having this strict system helps a business achieve their goals.
Yeah, great memory. I'm not surprised about that. I can tell you I can answer that from two different angles. First, I'll answer it from the angle of my business. Basically, I deliver my lead generation course for education companies that we guarantee they will go from generating no leads to a steady stream, or some go from a steady stream to a high stream. And I deliver it in 3 different ways. One of them is we have our cohort. We run it every other month. We allow 10 companies, 2 people per company, all in education. And these guys get together, and they thought they were all on an island, but we bring them all together. Then we have our milestone coaching, is when my team works with your team. And I call it milestone coaching because, yes, it's a higher ticket offer for me. But the reason it's milestones is because we don't move on from a milestone in the 12-step process until we've mastered it. And then we've got the done for you. And I can tell you that every time I do the done for you, everything is fucked up somehow. And every time I take it on, my right-hand man, Ken, who's always got my back, says, "You sure?" I promise, it's different. And it's always wrong. But when we stick to our own method, although it might be less money at the time, everything goes more smoothly. So when you have a method, when you have a process, when it's proven, that's a great thing for your business, for my business. Now, on the other side of that, what does that mean for my clients? For my clients, it means that they know what to expect each week, because I know what I'm delivering each week. And I can be very clear with them. What are the deliverables and what are the results? And I do not believe that the confused mind buys. So when I can be very clear with people, as I was with you when we talk, here's what we're going to do over 12 weeks. Now, anybody I talk to may get to a point where they don't have the money or they don't have the time. I can't control that. But as long as I have convinced you, as long as I have shown you how I can transform you and your business and get you the leads you deserve, then you will either mention me to somebody else, we will remain close, you'll continue learning, or you'll join when you can. So having that very clear methodology helps keep the business on track. And I would not do it any other way. And I have started working with some of my clients who have started to look at my business model, which there's totally a playbook out there. Don't get me wrong. I'm a coach with a course, but it's my course. It's my method. And when you get to a point where you get the results as a coach, when you get the results through your method, and then you stick to it and you innovate on top of that, the business becomes a wee bit boring. And Danny, when you're 46 years old, I know you're a young buck. When you're 46 years old, boring is actually not bad. So that's why I stick to my method.
And how did you come up with this method in the first place?
It all started back in 2008 when I started my first company. And when I started my tutoring company, I knew that I wanted to help I knew that I wanted to help families that were like mine. My parents were extremely supportive. Both of my sisters were super smart, older sisters. One went to Harvard, one went to Amherst. And then there was me, the baby. And I wasn't a good student, I wasn't a bad student, but I had a lot of tutors, so I knew a lot about tutors. So instead of being able to help every single kid that we could in the DC area, I focused on the kids that were like me. And then I found tutors that I knew could help kids like me. So my messaging was super clear to the families that I could help. We weren't looking for those ones that were failing. We weren't looking for those ones that were getting straight A's. We were looking for those cuspy ones who could really go from like a C to a B. Just a little bit of more work for a B to an A. And they might enjoy it in the meantime. So I had to be very focused in my messaging when it came to that. Second business, same thing. I knew exactly who I could help. And I continued helping those particular schools. So to me, it all comes down to understanding how you can help, who you can help, and then figuring out what their challenges are. So my 12-step process, Danny, honestly, it's based on all of the objections and the rejections that I heard as I started my business. For example, I'm a big believer in LinkedIn. I'm a big believer in leveraging LinkedIn to build your credibility in the education space because people buy from you first. They need to know how you're going to transform the school district's reading scores or the professional development, right? So I went and talked to all my ideal clients, my perfect clients, and I know how to make LinkedIn work for me. I knew I could make it work for others. So I said to them, what do you think about LinkedIn? Oh, LinkedIn is stupid. LinkedIn is for getting jobs. I tried LinkedIn before. I took a $40 course on LinkedIn and it never worked. Cool. So LinkedIn is a part of my 12-step process. So when I talk to people about LinkedIn, I ask them, what do you think about LinkedIn? It's no good. Cool. I'm going to tell you why it is. So everything in that process that you see is based on the objections and rejections. And it takes people along a path. It's called a signature solution. It takes people along a path that shows them, I can take you from confusion to clarity in exactly your biggest challenge. And this is why we do what we do, and you will get those results. Notice that I did not say how. I do not get into the how with people because people will start picking apart the how. But if you just focus on why you do things and the results you've gotten people, then you can build yourself your own signature solution that there's no way people can debate it. Because as one of my mentors said, it all has the benefit of being true. So that's why I created this process, and that's why I stick to it, because it gets results, and I can talk to you about it backwards and forwards. I had this conversation similar to the one you and I had, where I showed you my signature solution. 200 years, it's like 252 at bats. I know you love baseball. 252 at bats. Every time was different, right? There was always a different pitcher. The ball was always moving because I was talking to different companies. But I stuck to my swing every single time. Even if the ball was coming in differently, I stuck to my swing. And so when you can discuss something that well with that much confidence and you've got the results, you've got yourself a signature solution, you've got yourself a method, stick to it.
Yeah. Focus and clarity, two principles. And one of my questions that I prepared was around you being focused on ed tech specifically and not on anything else in sales. And now it makes total sense why you do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. I mean, I know the pains, the pleasures, the desires of my perfect client. I don't call it an ideal client. One of the things that I work on with my clients is that there is such a thing as a perfect client, especially in the education space, because there are so many potential clients, especially in the United States. So perfection is possible when it comes to your clients in the education space. One of the things I've been thinking about very recently and heard on another podcast that I think is so interesting, and I talk to my clients a lot about this, is that imagine you are a window washer. Okay, you're a window washer. What's the closest city to you? Birmingham?
Mobile.
Mobile. All right. You're in downtown Mobile, Alabama. You're a window washer. Okay? Danny washes windows for a living. And you have two buildings, two skyscrapers in front of you. Maybe they have a couple of them in Mobile. We'll see. Cool. And you walk up to two buildings. One on your right has clean windows, and the one on your left has dirty windows. Remember, you're a window washer. And in my opinion, and especially in the education space, I encourage my clients to go talk to the people on the right. Go sell, go talk to, go have good conversations with the people who value what you do already. Because if you're a window washer and somebody already has clean windows, they already value what you do. They love the smell of a clean window. They love the feel of a clean window. And so in education, instead of trying to convince a school or a building that has dirty windows that you're their answer, go and talk to people about what's not working, what you can solve for them. And you may be able to help them, or, you can also be very complimentary of the company that they're working with now. And they will remember that too. So I'm a firm believer in the perfect client, niching down. And if I teach it to my clients, I got to do it myself. So I don't believe, I may be wrong, that I will necessarily expand out of the education space because it's what I know best. I'm always open to ideas, but right now, just being very focused on education, understanding my clients, having a clear message, having clear results that they can relate to and they want is working very well.
Totally makes sense. And lastly, I'll let you give a message to the listeners, maybe young entrepreneurs in their early 20s. What's your piece of advice for them?
I think the last time I was on, we talked about fear is a liar, and fear is still a liar. I think what I would say now, because I've gotten to know you, Danny, and I've got Alvin on my team, and I've got Ken and I've got Samia on my team and others, and they happen to be probably 10, 15 years younger than me. And if I could tell you guys anything, you young entrepreneurs, just enjoy it. Really try and enjoy this. Enjoy the building, enjoy the failures, enjoy the successes. Know that, there will always be a tomorrow. And know that tomorrow you're going to go from the penthouse to the outhouse as well. And just try and stay steady. But know that, you're young. You got a lot of energy. I'll tell you what, man. I had a long day today of coaching. I did 3 hours of coaching today. This is a true story. We did this at 5 o'clock Mountain. At around 3:30 Mountain, and it's 3 o'clock, I went for a walk, 3-mile walk. You get to this age, you start walking in the sun. And then I took a shower, sat for a few minutes, cleared my mind, and got ready for this because I wanted to do as best I could. But when you're as young as you guys are, you don't need that. And I know I sound old, I feel old, and I got a ton of energy and I got a ton more to go. But if you're asking for me to give advice to young entrepreneurs, enjoy it, use all the energy you have, and also try and avoid not burning out because I did that a couple times and that's a real thing. But just do your best to enjoy it.
Perfect. Thank you, Josh, for coming to the show today, for sharing your experiences and insights. Definitely very valuable.
Thanks, man. I always enjoy coming on. You're extremely good at listening. And so we always have a nice, fluid conversation. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Appreciate it.